We are live now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Martin Pettigol, and once again, this is Political Affairs 2025. And you all know the reason why today we are here. Ghana has a new president, and then I'm supposed to have two distinguished personalities in our midst, but for now, I have one. We're going to be starting the program with Professor Bafor Ajimandia. And later, Professor Mustafa Bande is going to join us on this program. But before I introduce my special guest, let me just give you a little rundown. So, hello, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are listening to us live. This is Political Affairs, and my name is Martin Pedigo. This evening, we turn to our attention to Ghana's current political landscape under President Mahama. Less than a week into his tenure, the president has taken decisive steps towards his much talk about resetting agenda. But pressing question, pressing questions remains. Can he fulfill his promise to recover the nation's looting fund? And will he be able to reduce the ministries from 30 to 23? I have Professor Balfour Ajimenduya here to help us to look into this matter. Prof? Prof?
Yes.
Yes. You're welcome onto the show. This is Political Affairs. Viewers, this is Prof. Prof, maybe you might
Thank
just
you.
give a little introduction about yourself. Um, your In America we call it resume. In Ghana we call it CV. Briefly, just give us a word, and then I will take the whole program from there.
Oh my goodness, it's usually not easy for me to give my own CV, but let me tell you quickly. I'm currently a retired UN person. I work with the UN last 10 years. Currently, I'm the CEO for the John Ekufuor Foundation in Ghana. But my profession has been teaching at the universities. Basically, very active in civil society, co-founder of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development. So basically, that is me.
Thank you so much. And for my viewers, the first time I had an encounter with Prof, that was in Legon, and I think by then I was doing something naughty, so he just drew my mind, young man, you better behave yourself. And I took that advice, and today this is where I am. So, Prof, thank you so
Wonderful.
much. Yeah. So, Prof, let's just before I we start the discussion, let's listen to the president's annual um, speech.
The other end of things, maximize the have on us. My brothers and sisters, barely a month ago, we held historic elections that have caused dramatic shifts in our political landscape. I feel greatly honored that you, my compatriots, considered me worthy of receiving such an unprecedented and overwhelming mandate to steer the affairs of our beloved nation at this critical time in our history. The magnitude of this victory in the presidential elections and the gains that were made by my party, the National Democratic Congress, in the parliamentary elections naturally and justifiably resulted in great joy and celebration across our country, Ghana. But celebrations, no matter how justified and how well earned, must be supplanted by discernment, sobriety, and deeper insights into why we received this kind of mandate in the first place. By voting as you did on December 7th, the Ghanaian people conveyed a powerful message, yet often overlooked by us politicians. This message was powerfully emphasized by a giant of American political history, President Ronald Reagan, when he declared at his inauguration some 40 years ago that governments have no power except that granted by the people. While Ghanaians take great pride in our thriving democracy, they are deeply dissatisfied with the quality of governance over the years and have openly voiced that dissatisfaction through the decisive actions that they undertake at the elections. Our people also understand that democracy is not just a token adorned with periodic elections followed by pomp and pageantry with the establishment of a new government. They expect that if democracy is celebrated as a superior means of governance, then its outcomes must be more tangible and benefit them in their individual lives. Any honest introspection and reflection on the pulse of our nation would reveal that many within our population do not feel that they have benefited from or partaking in this democratic dividend. Where people buffeted by severe economic crisis and hardships, and in the last few years, we have lurched from crisis to crisis. But there is hope on the horizon. Today should mark the beginning of a new opportunity, an opportunity for us to make a difference in our governance.
Well, Prof.
Yes, sir.
Well, that was a beautiful statesmanship presented by our president, Dr. John Mahama. My first question goes to what is your take on the large turnout of diplomats and foreign dignitaries on Mahama's inaugural?
Frankly, that was one of the most impressive aspects of the inauguration of the president. I do not recall a time in recent times, I should say, when Ghana hosted so many foreign dignitaries. And you know, I've been around for quite a while, from Nkrumah's era to the present. When you have about 29 or so heads of states coming from African countries,
Right.
many others from European countries, representatives from almost all over the world. That told me something, that perhaps President Mahama may have a charm that he never showed during his first term. Or perhaps he should, but he didn't have time to get it shown. In other words, by missing the opportunity to have a second term, the respect and adoration that the world had for him were not shown. So this time around, I think all of them came. It also reminded me of the good old days when Pan Africanism made Ghana an icon in Africa. And again, listening to Mahama, he seemed to have confirmed that. Ghana has not been very active at all in Pan Africanist activities in the past many years, several years. And I think his statement, a part of his inaugural speech, where he started by identifying Ghana within the context of West Africa in particular,
Yeah.
and Africa generally, and making an emphatic statement about the interconnectedness between Ghanaians and people in our neighboring countries, citing the ethnic groups that have been divided by colonialism and all, was, for me, a very powerful statement that really indicated perhaps a new direction of foreign policy of his government. And that pleased me because even though I'm not a militant, I do have a very strong interest in Pan-Africanist issues that, and I believe with Nkrumah that Ghana's independence will be meaningless unless we work together with African states. I'm kind of paraphrasing my own way.
Right.
So that aspect of it was very, very impressive for me. And I'm hoping that now that he's in power, we can begin to see some policy initiatives that will bring that about. So it was good. It was very good.
Yeah. Let's to stay on the diplomatical call. We had some head of states from Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali. They also showed. And what is your take on that? Is it, as you said, Mahama is so charming, or those who defected from ECOWAS are finding themselves in this inaugural? What's your take on that?
You see, when the Burkinabe president came, that's another highlight for me. And believe me, even though I'm a Democrat, I spent greater part of my life setting up the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, a powerful public think tank in Ghana. And I've been pushing for democracy and good governance for all these years. And I have a certain feelings about coup d'etats and all. So certainly when these occurred in the Sahelian countries, I think most of us were disappointed. We thought strongly these were reversals in the so-called democratic journey that we are all trying to make. But I have to also say that for the past few years, I've really begun revising my own notes on democracy as it is practiced in Africa. I think we have simply copied what we shouldn't have. In other words, kind of trying to follow what the Western countries do, what other countries, other democratic countries do, forgetting that democracy, if you take the one side of it, which is the principled democracy relating to the ideals, dignifying humanity, the freedoms, the liberties that we have, which are universal, and the practice, which is where countries, societies have to set up institutions and systems that reflect their history and their culture. Unfortunately, it seems to me African countries have not been successful. The second side, which is
Right.
seeking to actualize those principles in our own ways.
That's right.
So, therefore, we are all aghast when coup d'etats occur. Of course, Ghana has experienced 4 terrible coup d'etats in the country, in many ways setting us backwards, not forward, I should say.
Right.
Nonetheless, when these guys, Tuare and these others in Guinea and elsewhere, Mali, when they started, we all condemned it. But as time went on, and we listened to them and observed the action that they were taking,
Right.
naturally, I will not condemn Traore and others. I'm so happy that for the first time, our brothers in these areas have realized how France, in particular, has exploited them. Their poverty is because of how the French have treated them over the centuries.
That's right.
So if they are taking steps to reverse that kind of relationship, hey, why should we, So if he came to Ghana, I believe strongly that he sees in this new government the possibility of forging better relations, because the former President Akufo-Addo did not do that. Akufo-Addo joined the ECOWAS people with Tinubu of Nigeria, even threatening military invasion, which was the most stupidest thing I ever heard.
Right.
We can march troops to this area. It wasn't possible. And I don't know who advised our heads of states in ECOWAS to even, because they were pushed by France and the United States to do that. Fortunately, I think they saw the wisdom in withdrawing, and that issue has gone down. And that is why these 3 countries decided to break away from ECOWAS. Because if their own brothers could not protect them when they were on attack, they are still under attack by these so-called Islamists, then what business do they have to do with them? But now that Mahama is here and is opening up his arms and they came, I am very confident that soon we may see some real new initiatives that will bring them back, if not to the fold of ECOWAS, at least to a new kind of relationships that will be beneficial to all of us in the sub-region.
Right. Well, thank you so much. 3 things. I would like to ask 3 questions, and I'll package it off. This evening, I was watching the Venezuelan president praising the Burkinabe president. I was so surprised. I saw it on TikTok this afternoon. I know it hasn't come out yet. The next question is, what is it about the Ghanaian that they became so exuberant when they saw this young man during the inaugural speech? I mean, everybody was so excited. What is it about him that is able to captivate the Ghanaian? And does it also mean that our form of democracy must be looked at again? Democracy in Africa as a whole should be looked at again? Bro.
Certainly, if you recall my comments moments ago about my own frustration with democracy, it goes without saying that I really am calling for a new form of democracy not in essence different from any other, because democracy is one in terms of the tenets, the principles, the ideals. It's the same across the globe. Okay? All human beings desire freedom, and it's only democratic societies or democratic system that guarantees that freedom, not Marxism, not socialism, where the state controls you. But the practice of it in terms of achieving the ends of democracy should be based on a people's history, culture, and traditions. So the way the Americans have structured their democratic practice is not the same as in Britain, it's not the same as in Denmark, it's not the same as in Japan. So we don't have to do what the British do or the Americans do. So all we are saying is that whilst we cannot say there's a certain brand of democracy called African democracy in terms of the tenets, because that is false, the practice should be African.
That's right.
So coming back to your first part of the question, Traore coming and people hailing him, I don't think Ghanaians are necessarily calling for a coup d'etat. I don't think they were happy to see a military man coming because a military man.
Yes.
I think they hailed him because of the ideals, the principles that he holds, and the actions that he's taking to advance the people of Burkinabe. We have had, as I said earlier, 4 coups d'etats under one military rule for 11 years. If military rule could make us better, we could have been by far better under Jerry Rawlings.
Right.
So nobody is calling for military coup. But the ideals, the new vision that the young man is showing us, that in fact a people can stand to their oppressors and insist on their freedom. And then more importantly, to initiate policies that will bring about self-reliance, that they can produce their own food, they can use their mineral resources to benefit themselves, on and on. That is the attraction. And in a very small way, if you know the history of Ghana, under General Kutu Echampong, that was the similar policies that he pursued. Self-reliance.
Yeah. Operation Feed
You
Yourself.
remember Operation Feed Yourself, Operation Feed Your Industries, taking the commanding heights of the economy, Ghanaians to take the... Those are the kinds of catchphrases that we need, you see. So the idea here is, how can Burkinabe combine these these golden kind of ideas, I should say, with democracy that will not suppress the people, enabling their rights and their liberties? That for me is the challenge, not the fact that he's a military man or anything. But I think the reason why Ghanaians hail him is simply because the man is championing a new Africa that the old politicians and current politicians have not seen, have not known, and have never acted in all these years.
Prof, thank you so much for that clarification, your answer. I love your answer. Let's look at the question now. The next question. Less than a week, the president has spoken, taking certain decisions, drastic decisions. Most of the time, previous regimes, it took them about 100 days, but within 3 days or 4 days, the president is speaking. What is your assessment on the new presidential initiative decisions?
Well, see, the good thing about Mahama, or the president, is that he's not a newcomer.
Right.
Almost like you're Donald Trump in your country where you are.
Yes, sir.
Except that they are different characters. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
Different characters. He was there for 4 years. And not only that, he's somebody who was once a parliamentarian, a minister, vice president, a president. So he's not a new hand, he's an old hand. So I would have been very surprised if he had come in and he was still groping for the way forward. Mm-hmm. That would have been a big disappointment. So coming in and within a week, taking these decisions tells you that he's come with a clearer vision this time around than before. That he's come with a clearer commitment this time than before. And he knows he has only 4 years. He did his 4 years already, and the Constitution allows him only one more term. So he's leaving to make his name and leave a legacy. Then he has no time to waste. And that's why I think that over the past week, he's taking certain measures. Measures don't surprise me. Making your appointments, I even thought he would announce the list of the cabinet before even the swearing in, because he knows all these guys. He's been working with them before. Setting up the oral to check those so-called state capture and recover looted monies and all. Those are not, that's okay, but those are not the thing. I think what you are looking for, one significant thing is done,
Right.
is fulfilling the promise of reducing the size of government. He promised he will have only 60 ministers. That will be the first time. The closest we come was 67. I think under Akufo also, but then it went up to 80 something. Akufo-Addo came, he ballooned it to 120, then under intense pressure after 4 years or so, it came down to like 87 or 90. I don't even remember. So 60 is a challenge. And I think he should stick to it. People are saying, oh, well, you promise. If you don't think you can keep to 60, you can increase it. No. Let the man stand on his words. Because it's possible to have 60 ministries or ministers. Because some of these ministries did not make sense. That's why I think he has cleverly collapsed some of them, merged some of them, renamed some of them. And now we have 23. It's given us a list of 23. Then also in our constitution, somehow those who wrote it tell us that people appointed to manage the regions should be called regional ministers. So when people are counting the ministers, they count the regional ministers. Now we have 16 of them.
Right.
But from my perspective, that is the most useless nomenclature we give to those people, the title ministers. You cannot be in charge.
Prof, Ghanaians like titles.
But you're right. You're right, but doesn't it make sense to call somebody in charge of a region a minister? Ministerial position refers to a portfolio within cabinet, not somebody taking care of Bronghafu or Ashanti or a Volta regional or Upper West. No. In fact, since we have district chief executives, if we have regions, they should be properly called what? Regional chief executives. Because if you do away with these 16 ministerial titles, it brings the number down for the president to be able to cap the ministerial appointment to 60 as he wishes.
You did mention about 60 ministers. I just received a text message from one of the viewers. He says that with the 60 ministers make governance effective?
Look, I don't think there's any magic wand regarding how many ministers make government effective. Some people say, oh, if you look at the problems we have in Ghana, we need maybe 100 ministers. Then I say, oh, then maybe we need 1,000 ministers, because Ghana, we have tons of problems. And if you are going to give a ministerial position to a problem, then we have 1,000 problems in Ghana. I think the whole idea is how you organize the governance structure to ensure that the key issues that require cabinet attention all the time, these are issues that you create a ministerial thing around. Others can be agencies, they can be authorities, they can be units, they can be departments. You see, the difference is that if you appoint a minister, the capital outlay for supporting that entity is maybe 5 times that of somebody you call director of a unit. So if you're looking for efficiency, you look for experts for those specific areas. So if one ministry, now that he has created the ministry of, I think there are 3 headings in one ministry, all the minister has to do is to identify 3 or 4 experts for them to head these other units under the minister. Ministers generally are not experts, they are politicians. That's why your country, Trump can't appoint anybody to be anything.
You're right.
So, politician can appoint a politician with no experience, but you require leadership skills and knowledge and experience to be able to manage the ministries. So I'm saying that the number of ministries do not determine the efficiency or effectiveness of the ministries.
Assignment. Right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Let's look at the next question. This has been one of the talk with some of the Ghanaian communities here in the United States. Facing the significant challenge facing the country, what should be the president's first priority, immediate priority?
Certainly the biggest challenge we face the economy, how we stabilize the economy. As you know, in fact, the very day they took over, the now designated minister for energy said, "Oh, we have only 5 hours of fuel," which was false, by the way, because it's about almost a week now. There are no.
No, wait a minute. I want you to repeat that again. This is very significant.
I'm saying that on the very first day of taking over, Mr. John Jinapor, who's just been designated for energy, and he was a ranking member in Parliament on the Energy Committee, announced to the nation that we have only 5 hours of fuel to run power in the country. Okay? And I'm saying that that was false because it's almost a week now. I've never had power outages here. But of course, as before, there are some outages here and there, but it's not like...
Why will he say that? Is he still campaigning or what? Why will he say that?
Well, frankly, I do not know. But what you said could be. I think they should know that we are no longer in the campaign mood.
That's right.
And I've had the opportunity to say it publicly when I appeared on one of our local television stations and I quoted the late Colin Powell, who was the Secretary of State of the U.S., the general. In his book, My American Journey, he makes a very interesting point about leadership. He said, look, when you assign a command in the service, the first 6 months, you have all the freedom to blame your predecessor. Put all the blame on your predecessor. But after 6 months, if you continue to blame your predecessor, then you are not up to snuff. You see? So in the same way, all the problems that they will say, we've had them. And the reason why we booted out Akufo-Addo and the NPP is because of the abject failure of their leadership. So the same reasons we kicked them out are the reasons you came. So we know them. So now don't come and repeat.
That's right.
Exactly. Now come and give us the solutions. And I think by and large, Mahama is going to do that. I have great confidence in Mahama, by the way. I have great confidence. His humility, calmness, and thoughtfulness, I think will help him. One of the things that really got Akufo-Addo the way he became is he's different. His attitude is different. His demeanor is different. People say he's arrogant, he's whatever. That did it. It did it to him. But I think Mahama is different. He's a listener, unlike Akufo-Addo. I'm sorry I'm making the comparisons because it's something we need to know.
Yeah.
You see.
It's public record.
Exactly.
It's public record.
Yeah, it's public record. Yeah. And I've said it many times publicly, so I'm not timid about expressing these views, you know. So we have hopes for Mahama. At the same time that we have that hope for him, we are also saying, look, let's be careful. Let's give him the space to be president and let's see how it goes. And we have to be supportive. Criticisms, not now. Allow him the space to put himself together. Let's pray for him because his success will be our success, not his success.
Let me ask you a very personal question. I don't know, but have you received a call from the president? I think you should be in the Council of State to help with all this wisdom and experience that you have working with the UN, lecturing at Legon. I mean, you've been in politics for a very long time. Have you received a call? It's a personal question, though.
Oh my goodness.
It's gonna. I
Certainly
guess it's
not.
gonna be on the way. It's gonna be on the way.
Look, by the way,
Yeah.
again, not being shy about this.
Yeah.
I know John personally.
All right.
We've been friends for some time, but I'm not into politics. And I've been around.
Yeah.
So most of the ministers come in. I know them. Just as in Akufo-Addo's government, I knew all of them. But I've been always principled. I criticize even Kufuor, whose foundation I'm heading now. When he was president, I criticized him. So when I came back from the UN and he invited me to run his foundation, I was surprised. You see, maybe because I criticized him, he knows I'm a principled man. That's why maybe he invited me to run his foundation.
I know for sure you're a man of principle, because I remember that day when you just said it straight into my face, young man. Let's look at the next question. Many Ghanaians on social media believe the NDC can recover the national resources that has been consumed by our recent outgoing government. Do you think the party can deliver this? You think the incumbent can deliver this?
Well, I think they have to. But I also caution that it's a very tricky business. I know Mr. Ablakwa, Okujitu Ablakwa, who's heading the Oral Group. I know him personally. I know ACP Kofi Boakye personally. Yao Domelovo, not personally, but we know each other. In other words, I'm Pebu Martin Pebu. I've been with him on programs. So I know all these people.
Right.
They are very principled people. And they are all determined people to make this country better. And I support the move. However, they've got to tread carefully, because you do not assume somebody to be guilty and tarnish their reputation unless you have evidence backing your allegations. It's very important.
Yeah.
You see, in the heat of things, people do all kinds. And I'm saying this because, look, we have gone through this before in this country.
Yeah, during the revolution, when people were settling scores.
Yes, we have seen it before. People were publicly flogged, some killed, on allegations only, not on evidence or any substantive evidence. So me, I'm careful. You see, if somebody has looted, sure, find a way to investigate and establish the facts. And by the way, as a country under the rule of law, every action you take in achieving that should be legal. Pebu is a lawyer, a very good one. And I'm sure if somebody is accused falsely, he will be the first one to go to the court to defend the person. Yeah. So I'm saying, I don't know if this broadcast is heard by them, but they must understand that whilst we are all serious in recouping the lost loot and all, they should also be careful not to trample on the rights of those that they are after.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm still talking to Professor Agyemang-Badu Boafo. Yeah, Boafo. Prof. My next question is: the supporters of the incumbent are unlawfully evicting public servants from their residences and offices. I know the president has spoken that everything should be done legally, but the party hasn't spoken. Why the silent? The president has spoken. Now the president is the president of all parties, but the party of the incumbent hasn't spoken about that. As a political analyst.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do not know why the party hasn't spoken, and I don't know whether after the president has spoken, the party should speak. I'm not too clear about that. But certainly you're right. As president, he's a president of the country, not a president for NDC.
Yeah.
He's the father of the nation. So if the party activists are those doing that, then I think it's important for the party itself to take the lead. And in fact, taking practical actions to stop it. But it seems like the party is staying aloof. You see, this is one of the things that I think an aspect of our practice that is hurting us. I know the president referred to what happened to his own members of government when he left office in 2017.
Yes.
He said that people were chased out of their cars, blah, blah, blah. It was bad then,
That's right.
and it's bad now. And I don't think the idea is to perpetuate anything so bad in our system.
That's right.
So I think what should happen after this is for the NCC and for the media and all of us to begin a vigorous public education that the fact that a party is out of power, that fact should not give a license to anyone to go and attack and take over state properties. It's not right. It's completely not right. Governance is a continuous process. When a party leaves power, the wheel of governance continues, even before the new government takes over. So I think that has been the missing factor in terms of educating the ordinary people.
Yeah.
I hope we don't establish this as a political culture,
Right.
that after every change of government, there's violence, and it's sad because I saw this, like when Kufuor left office, 2009, January. There was a previous director of DVLA. I've forgotten his name. I will have mentioned his name. He was a long-term DVLA, NDC man. He stayed away for it. As soon as Kufuor left office, he drove to DVLA and demanded to be in charge. Highly educated person.
Highly educated.
That person. I wish I could remember his name. You see, DVLA. You know the DVLA?
The DVLA, the one by the
drivers,
former Continental Hotel.
vehicles.
Yes.
Yeah, So I guess I'm saying that we need to have a political education on that.
Yeah.
For our members, the citizens, to know that that is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
After government changes hands. So I'm hoping that the parties, the dominant parties now in power, NDC, MPP, can find a way to educate their followers so that we desist from this kind of violence.
Yeah, we are almost 38 minutes and the program is supposed to be a 45 minutes. So I know, Doc. But Doc, this is another sensitive question that I'd like to put before you because I know you're a professor, you know much about this.
Don't believe that professors know much. Please, that's false.
The Chief Justice, the party is calling for her head as a political analyst, somebody who wants democracy to be entrenched into our country. What is your take on that?
Professor Asari is the one who sent a petition to former President Akufo-Addo to do that. And of course, he wrote back to say there was no prima facie, there was no evidence for him to do that. And it's not only the Chief Justice. Some people, particularly the NDC people, are also calling for the dismissal of the Electoral Commission, the commissioners, especially the chairman and the deputies.
Right.
And so it is with many other agencies. As for the agency, they know that they will be replaced. But when it comes to constitutional institutions, we got to be very, very careful. In November, this past November, there was a public event hosted by IDEG, Dr. Akwete's institute. Institute for Democratic Governance,
Okay.
at the Kempinski Hotel. And the Ghanaian Catholic Cardinal Turkson was the main feature speaker.
Right.
And I was invited to give some commentary. And I made a point that the way President Akufo-Addo got rid of the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, her name, oh my goodness.
I just missed her name.
Oh, I can't believe it. Anyway,
Yes.
people listening to me will know.
Yes.
I made a point that the way and manner she was so easily disposed of was dangerous because it gives room for any president coming to power to also do the same. You know, because the constitutional requirement, and I'm glad that recently the former Chief Justice is raising the same point that the Constitution makes it so easy to displace these people. All it requires is a petition from one individual. It doesn't even require signatures. To dispose of somebody in such an important position, you, as you sit there, can write a petition, just like Professor Asari, popularly called Azan. He wrote a petition to the president, asking the president to dismiss the Chief Justice. Where on earth? One person? Completely ridiculous.
That's right.
For such a person to be dismissed, if it's a mass request, there should be maybe a requirement for maybe 100,000 signatures.
That's right.
Otherwise, you give room for a few self-seeking individuals to create such a havoc. So I'm saying that, first of all, the way the Constitution describes how you can displace or dismiss any of these people, for me, is completely ridiculous. We need to change it. Let's make it a little bit more harder, and the requirements for that should be clear. So, to your question directly,
Yes.
if they are going to, Mahama is going to displace or dismiss the Chief Justice, again, it comes to my point, my same point again, that it gives room for the next president to also dismiss.
It becomes
And
a
we don't need-
reoccurrence. It becomes a reoccurrence, and it's not the best for
It's not
the
the best.
nation's democracy.
Which will mean that every president will come with his or her own Chief Justice, his or her own chairperson of the Electoral Commission, his or her own Shraj. No, I think that is, for a democracy, that is dangerous. So as bad as this Chief Justice may be, according to people, as bad as the Electoral Commission chairperson, Jane Mensah, may be, according to people, I think the wise thing for President Mahama to do is not to dismiss them. Let them be there and let them struggle with their own conscience
At
and
least,
see how things go.
at least the next election is going to be in 4 years' time.
Precisely. Precisely. Let them
Yes.
struggle with their own. That's assuming they did something. I'm not saying they are bad
That's right.
people, but according to those who want their dismissals, I think the president should be wise. If I were to advise the president, Mr. President, you keep them. Let them be there and just let's watch them. But of course, if there's evidence of flagrant violation of their oath of office, then
That's right.
that one you can let them go right away. That is what I think should happen.
Doug, I don't know, Doug. I wish I could keep you on the program for the next. But let me just ask the last question. And I believe that, Doug, when I call upon you again, when more questions begins to arise among some of us, the Ghanaian community in the United States here, and we call upon you, you definitely come to give us more understanding of constitutional and laws and things. And the last question here is that what should Ghanaians expect? What should Ghanaians expect from the NDC party, the new ruling government? What should Ghanaians expect? You've spoken about the economy, but what should Ghanaians expect? Because they voted massively. MPP folks voted, NDC folks voted, Shadas folks, some of them voted, Butterfly, they voted too. Now it's about Ghana. It's not about party. What should the
Yeah.
Ghanaian people expect from the incumbent?
Well, you know, as for the expectation, there are very many because Ghanaians feel the pressure of many things. But I think the president should be upfront with Ghanaians. There were certain promises he made that cannot be fulfilled immediately. Some may take more than the 4 years he has, maybe 8, maybe 20 years. Some could be quickly done, like he's done, using executive instruments to really do certain changes. But ultimately, Ghanaians are expecting a better economy. Ghanaians, with the massive unemployment amongst young people, Ghanaians are expecting jobs. And I think the president or the government can find a way with the private sector, not the government, because in his first term, President Mahama created certain jobs that were unsustainable, like a youth in youth in traffic, all kinds of things that were simply just like the NPP did with
Yeah.
the
The
NADCO or
police,
something.
the yellow police kids, people who were,
Yes,
what are they
so
now?
they were not sustainable.
Mm.
They used a lot of state resources to pay them, then they couldn't pay them because they didn't think through these things. So I'm hoping that President Mahama can look at the agri sector now that he's going to focus on it as a major source of employment. And Nkrumah's time, we have what we call the workers' brigade. You don't have to call it that. Now we are in modern times. You cannot say workers' brigade, but youth agri entrepreneurship can be similar, where the government facilitates through policy and action certain things to make it easy for 100 young people to come together and farm. Those kind of things, productive. So they will produce, not just to consume. So he should shy away from any policy that creates and adds to the consumption capacity of Ghanaians. We should be looking at the productive capacity of Ghanaians. If we did that, then the shortest possible time, like Operation Feed Yourself that we are talking about, we produce food, we can get a lot of food to eat, it will reduce the cost of living, on and on and on. So the expectation, the bottom line, and I believe Mahama has that, which is the personality is congenial. He's a listener. He's not arrogant. I hope he's not going to carry his presidential chair everywhere he goes in the country. He never did that in the first term. So I'm hopeful
Yeah.
that the No I Know John, I think he's going to really be a better leader. And his own experience, the first 4 years he was president,
Right.
has taught him a lot of lessons.
That's right.
And he should stick to meritocracy.
That's right.
Party people who do not deserve a job because of they are just party, please
Right.
put people who can perform and support your vision.
Right.
Just don't put people because if they gave you money and you want to pay them back, find other ways, but don't let them become blocks, stumbling blocks in the
Right.
forward march that he wants to move the country. That's all I can say on that.
Thank you so much. There's one last question, but please don't answer it. What should we think about too many generals in the military? I mean, I'm in the United States. So I see Ghana has so many 4-star, 3-star general. We don't go to any war, and it's like all these guys have to go on pension, retire on their salary, and blah blah blah. What do you say about it, Prof? Please don't say anything. They'll come after you.
No, I can say something.
Oh yeah,
Because
Prof. Yes.
I can say something because I teach at the military. We have a new defense college. I teach at the staff college.
We don't
So I
need
know the soldiers
generals.
very well.
Yes, Prof.
You see, when you have a military institution like Ghana, with all these 4 or 3 branches, the air, the army, and the marine, you call it, but the navy here and all, it creates a structure. The military has its own tradition structures. You don't need to have so many generals,
That's
correct?
right.
But once you are forming brigades, Brigades are commanded by brigadier generals. Okay, brigadiers. We used to call them brigadiers. They were not called general. But they realized that in other countries like the US, brigadiers are brigadier generals. So they've kind of synchronized the title. The only thing I believe perhaps you are referring to is Akufo-Addo's promotion of the chief of defense staff to the 4-star general.
That's right.
Which is the first time we're having that.
Yes.
Why he did that, frankly, I'm here to find out. I know the guy is a fine soldier, well qualified. And if, in fact, the idea is to make all our CDSs, and we have only one, by the way, only one CDS. So if that CDS must be general, 4-star general, then means that they have really accomplished to the hilt the known structures of the military, you see. As for the numbers, I have to take a look at it, but you're right. In terms of expenditures, it's one way of, spending our scanty resources.
Right.
But the military is a fine military, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. I'm so excited to, after how many years now? Almost
16 years.
16 years now, finally.
Oh,
You've been one of our distinguished guests on political affairs. And as I did promise, I'll be coming home at the end of this year. And I will come and look for you.
You got to.
Yes, I'll come.
Thank you for having me.
So viewers, that was Professor Bafo Jimadua, very learned person. He's been our guest on political affairs today. I know you did enjoy. We couldn't exhaust all the questions because the program is for only 45 minutes. But as I said, we'll get him back on the show. Prof, God bless you. Happy 2025. And then we love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How do I? Trying to exit.
Oh, okay. I will exit it. Yes.